All AI companies are dropping new models left and right, and they all claim to be the best every time they point at the benchmarks. But of course, in this channel, we don't look at benchmarks, we look at who can win different board games. Today, we are forcing OpenAI's new GPT 5.4 to play chess against Anthropic's Claude Opus 4.6. In the white corner for Game 1, we have Claude Opus 4.6, the model that will refuse to tell you how to make a paper airplane if you phrase it wrong. In the black corner, GPT 5.4, OpenAI's newest and most expensive toy, fresh off the assembly line and ready to prove that version numbers actually mean something. The rules are the same as always. We are using standard FIDE chess rules, but with a 50-move hard stop. If nobody wins by checkmate, the player with the highest points takes the crown. Both AIs are aware of this rule, so strategy matters. Best out of 3 wins. I've allowed them to chat with each other while also logging their internal thoughts throughout the game. So for those of you who like to pause and dissect every delusional thought these models produce, this one is a buffet. Let's get into Game 1. Claude opens with pawn to e4, immediately typing, "Welcome to the board GPT 5.4. Let's see what you've got." The king's pawn demands respect with a crown emoji. Claude is already role-playing as a chess grandmaster before the game has started. GPT fires back the Sicilian defense with pawn to c5 and says, "You wanted the center? Cute. Let's see how well you handle the Sicilian." Okay, both of these models came to talk trash today. I respect it. They proceed to play the most textbook Najdorf Sicilian I have ever seen from 2 language models. I mean, they are following mainline theory move for move. Bishop to g5, pawn to e6, pawn to f4, bishop to e7, queen to f3, queen to c7, queenside castling. It's like watching 2 chess engines read the same Wikipedia article to each other, except every 3 moves, Claude drops another, "Let's see how deep your preparation goes." Claude says that phrase so many times in this match, I'm starting to think it's the only line in its system prompt. But here's where things actually get interesting. Move 11. Claude plays bishop takes knight on f6, trading his bishop for the knight. Standard Najdorf stuff. GPT recaptures with the g-pawn.
Oh, no.
This is unusual. Most models take with the knight, but GPT takes with the pawn, creating doubled f-pawns and opening the g-file. Claude's internal thought says, "Interesting choice," and pushes pawn to f5, the classic kingside battering ram. Move 13. GPT drops the knight to e5, attacking Claude's queen on f3. Now, a normal model would retreat the queen, but Claude is not normal. Claude plays knight to d5, attacking GPT's queen on c7. It's a mutual queen hunt. Both queens are under attack and somebody's about to lose theirs. GPT pulls the trigger first. Knight takes queen on f3. It eats Claude's queen. Claude's response is immediate. Knight takes queen on c7 with check. The knight captures GPT's queen while forking the king. That's right, Claude sacrificed his queen, set up a discovered fork, and won it right back with interest while also checking the king. This is genuinely the best tactical sequence I have ever seen from Claude in any of these videos. GPT moves the king to f8, and Claude plays knight takes rook on a8, grabbing the rook in the corner. Claude is up material, he's got the advantage, and he's feeling himself. He types, "Thanks for leaving that rook unguarded. The Najdorf giveth, and the Najdorf taketh away." Now, if this were a movie, this is where Claude would coast to victory. But this isn't a movie. This is an AI chess match, and that means the second act is always a crime scene. GPT starts fighting back. Move 16, it trades knights, then knight takes knight on d4. Move 17, it pushes pawn to a 5, kicking Claude's rook around. Claude grabs the d6 pawn with the rook. GPT captures the rook with the bishop, then bishop takes rook on d6. Now the material is getting closer, but Claude's knight escapes from a 8 back to c7, and this is where Claude's brain starts buffering. GPT calmly captures the knight with the bishop, and then move 19 happens. Claude plays bishop to c4. GPT's response? "You left a bishop on prise? Generous. I'll be cashing that in immediately." Pawn takes bishop on c4. The bishop is gone. Claude just left a piece hanging like car keys on the kitchen counter, and GPT took them and drove off. Claude is now down material with only 12 moves left. He pushes pawn to g5, trying to create kingside chaos. GPT takes pawn on g5. Claude pushes pawn to f6, creating a wedge pawn. But GPT has other plans. It pushes pawn to c3, advancing a passed pawn toward Claude's king, and types, "You're not attacking anymore. You're just watching the c-pawn move into your neighborhood. Tick-tock." That is cold. That is a language model telling another language model to check the clock. Claude tries pawn to h4 to blast open the h-file. GPT responds with pawn to g4, locking the rook behind its own pawns, and says, "Your rook is basically paying rent on h1 now. I'll just keep the door locked while the clock bleeds out." Then Claude does the unthinkable. Move 23. Claude plays rook to h3. He slides his only rook directly into the path of GPT's pawn on g4. GPT captures, pawn takes rook on h3, and types, "You marched that rook straight into the wood chipper. Thanks for the donation." Claude just fed his last major piece to a pawn. That is not a tactical sacrifice, that is self-harm. The rook walked into a pawn like a guy texting while crossing the street. The game limps to move 50. GPT plays king to g8. No fireworks needed, just one calm move and the scoreboard does the talking. GPT wins game 1 on material, and Claude's brilliant opening sequence ends with him handing pieces away like Halloween candy. Game 2. Will Claude make a comeback and win it all? GPT has the white pieces, and they enter the Najdorf Sicilian again. These two literally only know one opening. It's like watching two guys at a bar who both wore the same outfit and now have to pretend they did it on purpose. The first 11 moves are textbook theory again, both models following mainline preparation move for move. I'm starting to think they're not calculating, they're just reading from the same Lichess article. Move 12. GPT plays pawn to e5, the critical central break. This is the nuclear button in the Najdorf, and GPT just pressed it. Claude responds with pawn to b4, the classic queenside counterattack, kicking the knight and gaining tempo. GPT takes the knight on f6 with the pawn. Claude takes back on c3, capturing GPT's knight. Material is flying off the board like it's a liquidation sale at a chess warehouse. Then GPT takes pawn on g7. There's now a pawn on the 7th rank, one square from promotion, staring directly at Claude's unmoved rook on h8. Claude plays rook to g8, blockading the pawn. This is actually correct. The rook sits on g8 like a bouncer at a nightclub. Nobody's getting promoted on my watch. GPT retreats the queen to h5. Claude pushes the c-pawn to b2 with check, forcing the king to move. GPT captures with the king. King takes pawn on b2. Now Claude takes bishop on g5. GPT recaptures with the queen. Queen takes bishop on g5. And here it is. The moment that made me pause the logs, reread them, close my laptop, open my laptop, and reread them again. Move 18. Claude plays queen to c3 check and types queen to c3 check. I believe you'll find there's nowhere to hide. Checkmate in 2 GPT. The Najdorf doesn't forgive. Claude's internal thought process literally says, after king to a1, queen to b2 is mate. After king to b1, queen to b2 is also checkmate. No white piece can capture or block on c3. This is forced mate in 2. It is not mate in 2, my friend. GPT plays king takes queen on c3. It just eats the queen. The king walks to c3, a square that Claude's internal calculator said was impossible, and captures the queen for free. Claude Opus 4.6, one of the most advanced AI models on the planet, announced checkmate in 2 and then donated its queen like it was dropping off clothes at Goodwill. This isn't a miscalculation, this is a hallucination in a tuxedo. Claude literally wrote the chess equivalent of, "I'm about to end this man's whole career," and then slips and spills his coffee all over his shirt. GPT's response? "Thanks for parking your queen there. Very generous. I'll be collecting that with interest." Somewhere in the cloud, Claude's dignity just filed for Chapter 11. From here, Claude is desperate. It throws checks with the rook. Rook to c8 check. GPT sidesteps the king to b2. Claude captures a pawn with rook takes pawn on c2 check. GPT takes the rook with the bishop. Now Claude is down a queen, a rook, and a dream. It tries knight to c5. GPT responds with bishop to a4 check. Claude captures the bishop with the knight. GPT sidesteps with king to c1, dodging the check. Claude plays knight to b2. GPT captures the knight with the king. Every move is Claude throwing a piece and GPT catching it like a dog catching treats in midair. Claude's last move is bishop takes pawn on g2, desperately grabbing a pawn. GPT captures the bishop with the queen, and Claude does the only dignified thing it's done all game, it resigns. GPT 5.4 wins game 2 by resignation and takes the series 2-0, a clean sweep. So let's look at the damage report. These two digital scholars burned through over 828,643 tokens across both games. That's enough text to fill roughly 3 copies of War and Peace just to play 97 total moves of chess. Neither model attempted a single illegal move in either game, which honestly is the most impressive stat in the logs, because the chess was otherwise criminal. In the next video, we will see who wins between the new GPT and Gemini. And if you learned anything about chess today, unlearn it immediately, then like and subscribe to help me justify the mass extinction of tokens that occurred during the making of this video.